Right, so I just picked up this 320 Ci. It looks a state, so I got it in to break it. It was offered to me by a local garage. 250 quid they paid for it, and 250 quid is what I paid for it because they just had it sat for ages, which is why it's so stinking. So I thought, oh, just take a few bits and pieces off it, cats, wheels, stuff like that, make a couple of quid on it and get rid of it. And then I'm looking at it, and it's not that bad. It's got 63,000 miles on it, loads of history. It's pretty tidy. It's a bit damage on that rear seat, but it's not too shabby, especially when you think it's 250 quid. So the engine's a non-runner. Now these engines are nothing special really. You can buy an engine for like 200 quid. So I'm thinking I might fix this and sell it. It's I had a look at the history. The previous owner bought it in it was November 2022, and they paid 3.5 grand for it, and they sold it to the garage for 250 quid. So if one person paid 3.5 grand then, it's only done 3,000 miles since then. I mean, maybe I can get 2.5, 3 grand for it now. There's no rust on it, which is rare for an E46. The arches are nice. Yeah, it is a decent car. It's just dirty, and so I thought it's just a cheap piece of shit, and I've thrown a bumper on top of it, unfortunately. So I have scratched the roof. So I'd need to try and polish that out if I do keep it. So I'm undecided really. It's probably worth saving. It looks like it'd be a decent car once it's running. Still got an MOT on it, so I wouldn't really have to sink much money into it. Just be cost of a replacement engine, and just try and move it on and make a few quid on it that way. Right, so I need to work out what's wrong with the engine first before I make any decisions. So I don't think it'll start.
Ella Henderson.
So
I think it'll be good to put a good...
Okay, so it's turning over, and it sounds maybe like low compression to me there. So I'll pull the plugs out, I guess, first of all, and I'll have a look, see if we got any signs of if it's burning oil or anything like that, and I'll get a compression tester on it and go from there. So I've got the plugs out. Number one had a load of oil on top of the plug, so it's leaking from the cam cover, but generally they all look pretty similar. Like if I've ever had an engine with like bore score, for example, the plug is always really sooty and horrible, so you can tell you've got a problem. They all look reasonable to me. So I'm going to start to do a compression test. I'm going to start on 2 and end up with 1 being the last one, because obviously a load of oil's gone down the bore, so it's probably going to change the compression. But I'm looking for basically cylinders with nothing rather than low. The mileage is low on this car, so it's not likely to have been worn out. So either we got something's broken, yeah. see what we got. Not much. So I'll do all the others and see where we end up. Right, so I've done the compression test. The battery's a bit flat, so I had to use a jump starter, but kind of got some interesting figures. So ignore those ones, it's these ones. So we had 180 on cylinder 1 that had the oil go down it, and then all the others are low but showing compression. So I've got a theory that maybe the rings are stuck. I got a feeling the car's not being used a lot, going by the mileage from when the last guy bought it. So I'm going to put some ATF, automatic transmission fluid, a little bit down the bores, and let it soak in for a bit, and then I'm going to give it another go and see maybe it'll free it up. It'd be an amazing fix if that's all it is, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So I've put the oil in the bores, I've left it like half an hour, just cranked it over and spat it all out, and just gone for cylinder 2, and we've got half decent compression there. So I'm going to run through them all and see if they've all picked up compression, and if they have, I'll chuck the plugs in and hopefully it'll fire up. Right, so the plugs are all back in now, so this is the moment of truth. I'm pretty confident it's going to start, so we'll see. Come on. Not quite. Oh, go on. I don't know if that's running on all 6. That's all the ATF coming out the back. I think it's alright. Right, so I'll let it run for a bit, clear that out, and I think I'm going to be good on this. Right, so it's running fine. I think that's just all the oil burning off, but I'll have to keep an eye on that in case it's a gasket, but it seems good. So I'm going to give it a wash now and see how it comes out like. It's a real shame about that bumper I put on the roof. This is a load of deep scratches in it. I'll have a go at trying to polish them out maybe. Depending on how the car comes up. See if it's worth the hassle. But yeah, I'll give it a proper test drive once it's all been cleaned up. So I give it a quick clean, and he's going over again. It's still there, a lot of grime and stuff. But it's come up reasonably well, to be fair. No major damage. Got a couple of scratches down there on the bumper. Got a couple of touch-ups there. Needs a good polish, which I don't know if I can be bothered to do. But yes, it's come up all right, really. There's no rust on it. It's a decent motor when you think of the fact it's 24 years old and cost 250 quid, and starts on a button now. So I need to take it out for an Italian tune-up, just to make sure she's all good. But I'll probably look to just move it straight on. I'll have to apply for a V5, that's the only problem. But here we go. So the engine sounds good. I'm happy with it. Drives alright. I'm just going around the estate, checking out the gearbox and stuff. So I'll take it for a proper blast Only thing I've noticed is the heaters don't work. The fans aren't blowing, so that's a common problem with resistor, but I'll probably just sell it cheap to account for that rather than waste my time fixing little bits and pieces. I think it's going to be a good car. So there's a receipt here on the passenger seat for a crankshaft and a camshaft sensor, and that was bought in March 2023. So that's, I think, pretty much when the garage got it. So I'm thinking the previous owner had some problems. Yeah, was trying to crank it over. So say one of these sensors was down, been trying to crank it, and the fuel's washed the bores, and so when he's changed the sensors, it's still not going to start. I've read online since this has happened to this one, and I got a feeling there's a bit of a thing with them. There's other documented cases where you'll lose compression, and basically you can't start the car then. So he's obviously washed the bores, then you not got compression, and he's taken it to the garage. The garage didn't want to get involved, I think, and so I think he's just sold it to them. I don't know what happened between him and the garage, but they just had it in the yard for ages. And I was at MOT in another BMW, and I mentioned that I was going to break it for parts before the engine on my Jaguar broke, and they said, "Oh, if you break cars for parts, you got that if you want it." So yeah, absolute bargain. One of the best buys I've had, because I've invested no money in it. 250 quid. It's cost me nothing to fix it. Battery I've put on it, but I had a battery in the garage, so it cost me nothing. So it's all good. I've just taken this for a quick run, and I might not be out of the woods with it yet. It's still a bit smoky from the exhaust. It's alright at idle, but when you give it some, it's plumes of smoke coming out the back. And going up a hill the first time I drove it, I didn't think it was going to get up there. It was crawling. You can't feel it's missing or anything, so I don't know whether that was maybe the auto box not quite right. It's gotten better. I've driven it a bit more, and it is loosening up a bit, but I think it's still a bit flat. It's not quite how it should be, and obviously there's a load of smoke coming out of it still. So I'm going to do another compression test on it, and see if we got any cylinders that are low, or if we're good or not. See if I can get it a bit smoky. Seems alright there, but when you're driving it and it's under load, it is smoky. So it is definitely the gearbox that's not quite right, because I just put it into drive, had a massive clunk, and then it was way worse than it had been before in terms of acceleration. I wonder if it'll do it now. There you go. So I'm going to have a look, see if we got any fault codes, go from there. I'm not going to invest a load of money into sorting stuff out. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I haven't got away with this. Right, so I just done another compression test. So this is the results. I've only managed to do the first 5 cylinders. My compression test is broken and it's not holding any pressure now. So they're all even. I'm assuming 6 is going to be about the same. The spark plugs all look the same. So I think the engine's sorted. I got a camshaft error on it. And then I got this gearbox problem. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time looking at those. But I'm not really going to be buying parts or anything. You see the little spots of oil where I've put the spark plugs down. So my theory on why it's still burning oil is where I've poured it in. I haven't poured directly into the cylinder, I just poured it down the holes. So it's pooled a little bit because the engine's slanted over. And I think that it's just running down the threads basically, and slowly burning off, which is fine. And so I don't think the engine's got any actual issues with burning oil. It's just the ATF being burnt off slowly. So I've just been out for another run in it, and the gearbox is now fine, no issues at all. So yeah, I guess it just needed a warm-up cycle. It's been sat for a while. I got one fault code there. That's a thermostat on these. I've had a look on the internet, and that's what that is. So I'll probably change that if that's the only issue. I did have camshaft signal come up again on the first drive, which I cleared. It hasn't come back on this drive. Now I've got an invoice here that says it's had one, but looking at it, it looks old. So I think somebody's bought one and never fitted it. So I'm gonna have a good look around the car, see if I can find one. If not, I'll change that if the code comes back up, because it's only cheap. It'll take me like half hour or something. But yeah, I think I'm sorted with this now. It's no longer smoky. So I'm going to try and polish it up a bit, and mainly just have a go on the polishing stuff I've got. My old man gave me stuff for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I've never really used it. I can't be arsed with detailing, and I don't want to learn on something that I actually like. So maybe I'll have a go with the roof on this. So if it makes a mess of it, it's no big deal because it's already scratched. So yeah, maybe I'll tidy it up a bit and then look to set it on. So I've decided to order the bits it needs just to sort out the little issues. I've got a new thermostat coming. So the thermostat is down in by there, and then cam sensor is just in behind there. Done that. And I've got a new resistor for the fan blower motor. I just stripped this down to check that the fan itself works, and it does. So I'm thinking it's likely to be the resistor. They're known for trouble. So yeah, and that's giving it ground, that's making that run. It's got 12 volts. So I think it gets its power and its ground through the resistor. So I'm hoping that's the issue. It sounded fine when it runs. So yeah, I've had to order everything off Amazon Prime because it's bank holiday, so it's the quickest way I'll get it. So all the bits are cheap and nasty Chinese specials, but should be fine. Cost me 65 quid for the free parts. That brings the total spend on this car to £315, which is nuts. Right, so I fitted that cheap Chinese cam sensor, so it's up in there, and the car was having problems. I was getting long crank time to start the engine, and I would go into limp mode, and that seemed to happen once it warmed up. So I put the old one back on, and it was better, but it does occasionally throw the code. So I've put my hand in my pocket and I've bought a proper BMW one, 140 quid, so a lot more than all the other ones. But I've read on the forums that apparently this is a bit of a thing where they're picky about the brand you use. So I figured I'll just get the correct part, and it should be all good. I have checked the voltages on the plug and everything's what it should be, so I think this should solve it. Old, new. So I decided I'm going to top up the aircon, see if I can get that working. So it's showing decent pressure, so just put a little bit in and see if it makes a difference. So that's worked perfectly. The aircon's cold now. It's another little win. So the driver's seatbelt doesn't retract properly, so that's likely to be an MOT fail. So I figure for 20 quid for a replacement, I might as well change that. Just little things to make the car as good as it can be without spending too much money. And there it goes, retracting. Maybe I don't need to. Right, so just taking the car to get some photos. It's all sorted now, so I'm gonna advertise it. So it's looking decent, really. Polishing the roof didn't work out too good. Yeah, I saw a video on wet sanding and got a bit over eager on that. It's this side, I think I've gone through the paint a bit, but all the scratches are still there. You can see there. So it is what it is. I don't care really, just take a bit of value off the car. But yeah, it's nice. It drives lovely, it really does. Feels quite retro as well, to be honest. It's completely bog standard. Quite a little cassette there, basic stereo system. Nothing overly fancy, but it is a nice colour, nice interior, bit of wood trim. I like it, gotta be honest. I didn't really look it over when it came to me, and as soon as I saw the mileage I thought this might be worth a second chance, and so I'm glad I've done the odd little bits. So everything works as it should. The problem with the automatic gearbox, it turns out it's a common problem when they sit. It's just the contacts inside on the selector on the side of the gearbox, gear position sensor. They just corrode basically, and so all I had to do was just run it through the gears about 100 times, so it didn't even get out of the car, and then that's fine. It's just cleared up all the circuit board, I guess, or the tracks it runs on, and it's all done. So that was that. The proper crank sensor has sorted out the engine, getting that fault, that's all gone now. So it's worth spending the money on the proper BMW one. And yeah, just gonna stick it up. I haven't decided how much I'm gonna stick it up for. Looking at BMWs this age, this mileage, it's I mean, I'm seeing them £4,000, and the previous owner paid £3,500 for this. Now that was off a dealer. I'm not a dealer, so I don't know what I'll put it up for. Maybe chuck it up for 2.5. Hope I get a quick sale. Yeah, I don't really need it sitting around, but it's a nice motor, so I'll get it advertised and see what happens. So a couple of little jobs I want to do just before. There's slight clunk when you just gently apply the brakes, and it's a common problem. So it's this bushing on the control arm, the rear bush. So I figured I may as well change that. It's only 20 quid for the part. And then also when it's warm, you get a little bit of smoke burning off the inlet manifold. So I'm going to change the cam cover seal. So both pretty straightforward jobs, both fairly common issues. Just may as well get it as nice as I can. So that's the control arm bushing replaced. Wasn't too bad a job. So I got the cam cover off. The old seals were rock hard, so got new ones on there. Just put it back together now. All looks fine in there. Cams look decent. Alright, so my wife used this car for the first time, and she's done that to it, which is lovely. So that's going to knock the value down loads. Good thing is it matches the Jaguar. She did the same thing on that. Don't know why I bother sometimes. So it's all cleaned up, ready to go. Got somebody coming to look at it soon. They're coming from quite far, so I reckon they'll probably have it. So fingers crossed I get decent money. So the car's just gone. Sold it for 2,600, so I was happy with that. It owed me 680 once I paid for MOT, servicing, crank sensor, all those bits and pieces. So just under £2 profit. So that's a good result there. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. Like, share and subscribe.